How are we gonna do the tour real quick? How do you want to play this? Do you want to narrate it? Because this is mostly you. What I can tell you is like I want to ask you some questions. So first, is there a way for the Common Front to even learn that there is a group within Deliverance that is fighting against Deliverance?
There is so at this point, I think that there are several smaller factions within the front that are trying to make contact with anyone who will talk to them
Mm-hmm.
across the border. But the main council itself does not. If one of those groups is able to make contact, it is conceivable they would be able to sort of like talk to say the Wooloos, but like it would be like third hand communication.
Yeah. So there is a way that this could get up the grapevine, right? To
Yeah,
to Svava. So yeah, we'll establish that. Like that. So what I can tell you is like through this grapevine, the certain entities within the CF, not enough of them to matter, unfortunately, right? Have an idea that there's some kind of group in Deliverance that's not about what Deliverance is doing, right? But they don't know its name. They don't know what it is. They have some people who what they can contact, but those people won't get them to anybody higher up, right? Because they don't want to risk the organization. But those people can basically what if that like those people those like low quote unquote rank because again anarchists don't fucking have ranks like those less influential less important Wooloos will like if they get wind that there's a tour going on in Denmark will like let the people like let their people like those people in CF that they've contact with know that their people will be there too. So just keep an eye out for them, right? Because this kind of hinting, this big stuff went down on Denmark, and we want to know as much about what went down on Denmark as you do, right?
yeah. The and the Central Council would be willing to like, okay, we're going to look out for this, but sort of a paralyzed by indecision. Is this even real? And even if it is real, like what do we know about these people? So they'll be kind of looking for signs, as it will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's how we'll begin the tour. So again, the Deliverance opens itself up and it says, sure, you can come tour some of our planets, right? And one of the planets, that I guess I would assume Rhea more than anybody else picks is Denhark. She really wants to see what's going on with Denhark, largely because again, Denhark is the planet where Deliverance makes a lot of its ships. It's basically like being used to like churn out their war machine, right? Because of all the ebrium on it. So she wants to figure out what the hell's going on Denhark, because there's been some rumors going on that there's some weirdness going on with Denhark, but like like nothing solid, right?
Yeah.
So what CF people are sent to Denhark? Who comes to Denhark?
Um. The There's a small entourage. The person, the important people are a an older gentleman who used to be a sort of a mining union boss
Mm-hmm.
um, on Kyrie, who is now kind of just a somewhere between diplomat and rogue trader, who's being called in because he's one of the few people they have on hand who has technically done business in deliverance space before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whose name is let me think of a name. I'll just call him Clark. Why not? He's Fred Clark. Um, it's him. He has a guy who is um essentially a Zen monastery whatever I can't remember, like basically in charge of a space Zen monastery on one of the border worlds, who is kind of there as a representative of the people who would actually be the ones disarming, and they have a military person from one of the defense cadres.
Mm-hmm.
But Fred Clark, the rogue trader, is kind of their main sort of spokesperson guy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so who the people you meet here on Dinhark who greets you? A familiar face to you, but not to these people. Velius is here, the Sussurar. And he's not in his usual like mask that they wear when they're fighting. His face is showing now. His friendly lion ram face. He's got a big jovial smile. He's a big burly guy, and he's much more laid back. He's no longer like tense or strained. Like he's got completely different energy here. Again, he's not wearing the mask that they wear when they're there to fight. He's here with his face exposed. Also, there are just like some like regular like people like who aren't Sussurar, just some regular Deliverance normal like average Joes. They're basically unassuming, right? It's like yeah.
Normal folks.
Yeah. They greet, Velius greets them warmly. We're more than happy to show you the kind of good work we're doing here on Dinhark, and so he'll begin to take you around Dinhark. I guess I'm going to give you the quick tour of Dinhark as it is now. It will help me establish Dinhark as it once was in further roleplay with Quinn and Kovanen. So Dinhark as it now is, and Velius will tell you, like, there are many, different people who used to live on this planet, and most still live on this planet, but we didn't get here in time to save all of them. One of the people we don't even, like, one of the groups of, individuals here, unfortunately, were wiped out completely before we got here. We didn't get here in time. So we built, a memorial to those people. We don't even know their name, right? That's how wiped out they were. But so he shows you that memorial first. He's like built this big wall where they put a memorial up for whoever those people were who were once here and now they are gone. They were genocided. They are extinct. So it's not a bad, like, I don't think the common front soldiers would understand how like disgraceful this is to those people who aren't extinct, right? But it seems like Deliverance is putting on that face of we do revere these people who were once here, right? Like that's the projected. Yeah. That's the projected thing, right?
Yeah.
So he tells you that, and then he moves on from this tour. And they're basically giving you the North Korea treatment, right? They're showing you everything around. Like they do like take you into one of the Ebrium mines to show you, like, show the Union guy, like all the OSHA compliance, all the safety regulations, all the like breathing apparatuses, so nobody's gonna like huff in dangerous gases. We're just super safe here. We have a union. They're paid, above living wage. Like he gives you all the data. Like nobody's being oppressed here, right? Nobody's being exploited. Nobody's being abused, right?
Yeah, and like Fred Clark will be like really, really complimentary. He's like incredibly sort of like he's incredibly impressed and very open about that. As well as being like super open about the fact that um, he's impressed that they took the time to honor these people, that they didn't arrive here in time to help. Being really generous, basically.
Yeah. Now he takes you onto the place that like he actually guides you around, but ultimately like he shows you around Dinhark, other like areas of Dinhark. It's a beautiful planet, right? It's very lovely. It's actually kind of a tourist planet now that people can come to and tour around and like spend time in the jungles, on the tropical beaches. It's effectively a paradise, right? But he gets kind of more out into like the scrubbier areas, right? Where there's still like if like that kind of Aztec where the jungle is around, but there's like rocky plateaus and steppes and like it's like rocky mesas with the jungle surrounding it, right? Like that kind of area.
I know what you're talking about.
So he walks you into that area, and the CF soldiers don't know this, but the land you've just stepped on is the Eshai's Gentle Lands. And he walks you around these lands, and these lands are just like they have that kind, like they've been basically like the CF can't tell this, but they've been wrecked by agriculture. They've been like blistered by like being taken over in the way that like colonizers take over good land. Where they bend the land to their will instead of working with it like it should be, right? They bend land on its terms, right? And like their crops being grown here are crops that suit like that aren't native. They're imported crops that suit the people living on here, not the people who live here, right?
It's the we're gonna grow cotton until the soil dies.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what's going on here. I'm not sure if the CF will recognize it, but it's what a shy person would recognize. And Velius just says that this is a good thing. You know, we have a thriving community, these great crops on this fertile land. Like, he doesn't realize it either. He doesn't realize what's really happened, because that's how good Deliverance is at hiding what it truly is doing, right?
Yeah, and they would not have brought anybody. They don't have anybody with them who's knowledgeable about agriculture. So to them, they're just seeing this seems like a pretty well. We see a bunch of well organized industrial farms that seem like they're well run.
And again, he shows you, like, these farmers, they're not like the farmers here in the United States who are, non-people who are worked to death and get paid subhuman wages. Once again, these people have a union. These farms are independently operated. They're basically co-ops, right, that are owned by the farmers. These aren't even sharecroppers. Like, they get paid well. They get paid fair wages. Like, nobody's being exploited. Nobody's being abused. Nobody's being oppressed. These people, like, he introduces you to some of the farmers. They're proud of what they do. They don't realize what they're doing here either, right?
Yeah. They will actually be the chance to meet people is something that is gonna they are gonna take some time on. Um, they will at length talk to these people and spend a lot of time asking them about not like pretty innocent questions about how long have you been working here, and how did how are you adjusting, and just sort of like really innocent questions.
Yeah.
um
Go ahead. Keep going. Sorry.
no yeah, just really innocent questions, but also kind of asking. They do specifically kind of ask, like, how long have you been working as a farm worker here, and kind of asking about the when did sort of like what was the nature of how you got here? Did they sort of like ship you in from somewhere or what?
Okay, well, like they basically, like, all of them say, like, they're not brought here by force. Like, the Deliverance basically did like what the U.S. did for the westward expansion. Just said, there's land here. If you want to come move in, it's yours. For the price of working it, and sharing your bounty with us, and
Okay, so yeah, they did the whole home setting.
they did the whole manifest destiny, wink, right, for these people. So they came in to start a new life. That's what we're here for, and they're happy to grow their food and everything like that, right? So yeah, and they'll gladly give you like an idea of like when they came here. But again, like, maybe it dawns on the common front. They haven't encountered anybody who was originally here. All these are colonists who've come in, or they haven't interacted with anybody who was originally here. There were, like Cobelius revealed, there were original people here on Dinhark, not just the people who were genocided, but like wiped out, but like other people who won, quote unquote, won that conflict, right? And they haven't met any of those people yet.
Let's see. I'm rolling a d20 just to see. Okay, that's above 10.
Yeah.
The monastery the monastery guy will at length eventually ask if any of the people they've met were original inhabitants, because they know that one group was wiped out, but what about someone mentioned that there were two others?
Yeah, the Velius, well, the farmers will, like, Velius responds like, yeah, well, that's along the way. Well, that we're going to introduce you to some of the people who were here first, right? The people who came in, they opened the place to us. Happy that we helped them liberate themselves from the strife. Yeah, that's next on our itinerary. After we show you one more thing. But yeah, and the farmers will also, by the way, since you asked that pointed question, give you a timeline of basically like when they moved in, so the CF can kind of get an idea of when Deliverance started bending the land this way, right? When they really put down roots.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like one of them will like make the mistake of just saying, it's like, well, here's how we'll do it. I'll get to that in just a moment. So the first thing Velius does is he takes you to the place that, and you've actually read the lore document, he takes you to the place that the Ashai call Aras. Now it's a fucking tourist attraction. Like what happened to Uluru? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? There's people walking around on it, fucking around, right? There's people who will clean up the litter, right? It's not dirty, but people have tagged it, right? Just like Uluru. And people are just like walking around on it, not being like, if you've read it, you know, like on Aras you're supposed to be honest, right? You're supposed to be honest. You can't lie on Aras. These people are just fucking around, not being open to themselves. They're desecrating it. But the CF don't know that, don't have that context, right? But so
Is it
there's
explained to them that this was an important place?
yeah, they don't know the name of it because like they don't know, but they say,
Mm-hmm.
we don't like this place seems like he seems to have been a place of like high reverence for the people who were wiped out, that they really revered. It's a tourist attraction now. We're doing our best to keep it clean. So, these kids, they put graffiti on it. We power wash it off. We're trying to keep it in the condition that it originally was. But by letting people come onto it and do this dumb shit, they're not keeping it the condition it originally was, right? But they don't realize that.
Not knowing, he doesn't know much, but the head of the monastery hears this place was important in some kind of sacred way, and this is what they did to it. And whereas he had been pretty positive before, doesn't say anything, but he is not positive for the rest.
He's
He
got
is very
he's
not
yeah,
pleased.
he's got that internal yikes. They say like they call this the sunlit, like the sunlit mesa, because like this, like it's on the equator. Avelius will tell you. So sunlight shines here longer. The days are longer here than everywhere else.
Yeah, like he's kind of like reading between the lines here of like, I feel like I've heard this story before.
Yeah, but Avelius doesn't get
There,
it, right?
no, like the other ones are just completely like, yeah, you know how like kids are.
Yeah. So
Like completely get it.
on your way off to meet the like the native and like the native people, like the original people who lived on Dinhark, you meet them like in a small town, right? And in like in this small town, right, is like that's where they're hanging out. So like they'll show you around like a regular town, right? Like what a town here is like, and like it's like it's a nice civilized industrious town. It's a nice like it's semi like basically got that suburban energy, right? But it's also like got that it's been gentrified energy, right?
Which again, the military man and the road trader like totally are fine with. The Zen priest is like super like, yeah, like he is already doesn't like this.
Yeah, and it's here where you kind of get that like inkling that like it's finally starting to set in that like something like used to be here that they're not aware of, right? And it's here that like it's like they're like going to like they give you an opportunity to kind of sort of like walk around unguided, right, for a bit as they introduce you to the people who like the original people of Dinhark, a couple of the original people in Dinhark. The original people of Dinhark, they'll greet you. They talk about, like if you ask them about the war, they'll talk about the war. They'll say it was awful, right? They'll talk about how, and I don't know if the CF knows enough about the martyrs, right? But they'll talk about how like it's just like there are people like in their groups who just started like squabbling, right? And they just kind of got pulled into defending their own because that's what they do, and it just became a big, huge civil war, and it just got nasty. It got really, really nasty. And and like they have like mixed feelings, like they're glad that it's over, and they're also glad that those original people are gone, because they called them demons. They refer to these people as demons, and they kind of talk about them as if they're terrorists. They set these traps. They blew off people's legs. They crippled thousands, like tens of hundreds of like tens of thousands of us, or just like no, like it was we're like, and like it's like those, like it's almost like those people who were gone were the bad guys, right?
So the military guy will start kind of asking pointed, not pointed like really like accusatory, but sort of like he'll start asking questions about when he starts hearing about traps and asymmetrical warfare, trying to figure out how much of this is like putting mines in civilian places and how much of this is the common tactics you have that a outnumbered force would do.
Well,
Like,
these these individuals have a vested interest in establishing themselves as the victims. So
Yeah.
if this is going to be a read the situation, they lie to you and say these people attacked civilians, right? These people were monsters.
He is a senior officer, so I'm thinking a +4 to read the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. That's going to be an 18.
Yeah. So you read between the lines, right? This NPC reads between the lines, right?
Yeah. Does he? So they have a vested interest, but how good does their story keep? How good is their story?
Like the regular people, their story, like it's the second their story starts to like kind of be a little tenuous. One of the people, not Velius, says we need to move on. So like they won't let like the people not entrenched in the propaganda spin going on here ruin it, right? So they move you on.
Yeah, he'll remember that.
Yep. So they take you on to like so now they take you on to the next place. They give you like you eat some of the food. You do a bit of a bar crawl on all these craft breweries. How lovely.
Well, 2 out of the 3 are fine with that.
Purvey some of these lovely yoga studios that popped up. You know, all these franchises. They're so nice. What's mom and pops? They don't have the same je ne sais quoi, right? These franchises, you know that the quality is the same across all of them.
Have the rogue traders at once they kind of get into sort of the let me show you sort of like all the cool shit that's going on here. The rogue trader will ask some questions about like the local economy, like what makes this planet work.
Yeah, so they start talking about the economy. Like they'll tell you about how the economy works. It's pretty, like equal distributed economy. Like it's not it's not explicitly, it's not so grossly capitalist as our current situation, right? But there's definitely still like people are definitely getting outsized like benefit from what they're getting, right? There's definitely like people who are enriching themselves excessively here. It's not to the billions, at that happens in our country, right? But there's definitely like too much inequality here that is trying to be equal, right? That's pretending it's equal. It's pretending this is fair, right? It does on surface it seems reasonable, right? If you're not a communist, you don't realize that that's their surplus labor and they should be getting it, right? But yeah.
Yeah, there's the common front has to work with a lot of different factions that are very much not in agreement about economics.
Mm-hmm.
So there's sort of a glazed over smile, yes, of course, kind of thing as they see sort of yeah, this is still capitalism though.
Yeah, it's still capitalism though. It's just like baby capitalism. It's still capitalism.
How much do they talk about the Abrium?
The Ibrium, yeah. Oh, they took you to the mines. So they did show you some of the Ibrium. This like they talk about like how this place is just super rich with Ibrium, right? But they're like they do like that's the final step of the journey. Like they're gonna take you to one of the military things. They're gonna be completely exposed and open with you. It's what they swore they would do. So they're gonna show you their military installations, as a sign of good faith. That's what. So, but that's next on the journey. But they'll talk about how this place is just super rich in Ebrium. And they talk about like what Ebrium is, which is basically like the stuff that Deliverance uses that a lot of people use actually to power their ships and power some energy weapons that they have. It's a very high energy like resource.
The Ray Trader makes of course, totally innocent comment that it must have been the planet is definitely a boon.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Velius
And
says, that's just a perk. We came here to make sure these people stop suffering.
which he will absolutely be all on board and agree with, whether
Mm-hmm.
he believes that or not.
Yeah, but Velius does believe it is the problem, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. And like he does say, like, normally, people come in, they extract all the resources, and they just take it and they give the people nothing. That's not what we've done. We've given them this food. We've made sure that they get back. We're not just ripping out their ebrium and leaving them with nothing, right? And he shows like all the things that they're giving them in exchange. This good food, this good comfort, these modern novelties. Like, it's not like they're just exploiting these people and sucking them dry, or they don't think it's like that, right? They think it's fair. Yeah. Nobody's being enslaved. Nobody's, none of that awful stuff yet, right?
Yeah.
So then he explains to everyone, and he moves on, and he takes you the final, like, well, he's like, why don't you wander around a little bit, and like, Avelius will walk with one of the other people that came, like probably the Union guy, right, to chat him up, because Avelius is more of a Union guy himself. But the person who pulled you away when the farmers were risking the cover, that's the guy who goes with the Zen person. The Zen person is the one who needs to be watched the closest.
He's been noticeably quiet since Aras.
Yep. So as you're touring around, talking to people, whatever, you're basically again getting that North Korea treatment, right? Of you're only being allowed to see exactly what they want you to see. And now I need the Zen guy to make a spot check.
All right. What is spot again specifically?
I think it's a skill that you, like a pilot skill that you can have. I have to make sure.
Yeah, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Does a 14 do me?
Yeah, 14 is good enough. You, like, the Zen guy notices very subtly, though he doesn't know this. Again, there's a lot of information being conveyed here that you and I, the GMs, know, but that these NPCs don't know. He notices some graffiti on one of the buildings. A cerulean emblem with a black sheep inside of it. The symbol of the Wooloos. But he doesn't know that, right? But he notices it, and it's graffiti, right? It's not supposed to be there.
The road trader has a vague idea that there is someone who's been trying to contact some of the more weird crusader cliques, and that he has been told that there's a possibility that they might try to talk to him at some point when they can. The Zen, when they're back together, would the Zen guy be able to mention this to him quietly?
Yeah. To who?
To the road trader.
Yeah, sure. What I want to establish is like this icon is on a building, like it's marking a building, like as if like if this Zen person knows enough, it's basically saying this is a building that is safe. This is a building you can hang out in if you're us, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a tea house. Anyway, so but I assume he doesn't ask to go in, like he doesn't give away that you spotted something, right?
No.
Yeah. Okay. So he gets he starts to get drawn back to the rogue trader. He gets a couple moments to talk to the rogue trader quietly, as the deliverance people also talk to themselves quietly. But like if he's gonna do this whisper, I unfortunately we're gonna have to do a contested roll, because the person's like, is there a way that he can get it? Like, can you? We're gonna have to do. I hope I lose. I'm gonna make sure I lose. We do have to do a contested roll, because you have to try and hide that you're having this conversation, and I have to keep this fascist wants to hear, right?
Yeah, he's going to mention that.
Okay, I rolled a 13 for his spot, so hopefully you can beat that.
So would it be rolling against a spot?
It's an investigate.
Investigate.
So whatever, I guess like a hide secretly, that kind of stuff.
Because I don't think that this guy would. I don't think that this guy would have marks in that. He has a 12 unmodified.
I guess go with. God, I hope you can do it. Go ahead and take one advantage on this, and I hope you can do this. If not, I'll give you one chance to re-roll it, because again.
Oh, that's 14.
Oh, good. You just barely beat it. Was that with the +6 or with the +d6? Yep. Okay. So you just you're barely able. He gets so close to catching on, but you're just good at like just by a sliver of a hair, which of course is how the entity would make sure this happens, right? You keep it secret. You get to have this conversation without the fascists picking up on it.
He at most what he hears is something about a tea house that looks nice. The
Mm-hmm.
part he doesn't hear is a description of a mural, and is that the kind of thing you're looking for?
Yeah. So,
Which maybe.
mm-hmm. So I'm trying to get you the full story of what happened here, and in order to do that, one of the NPCs that you want the most to hear the true story needs to get away. So you need to signal to these people searching for you, the Wooloos searching for you that you were told would be here, who you want to be drawn away. So who that NPC needs to do like a show off or something to that effect. Sorry for so many roles, right? Again,
No, don't worry about it.
take an advantage on
I'm
this
thinking
because they're looking too, right? The Wooloos are looking too.
The Zen Master knows from what he's heard that his deliverance handlers are probably not super impressed with any display of his spirituality and will
Mm-hmm.
almost definitely just kind of assume it's some dumb shit.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to try and make a big deal out of wanting to walk through some of the town and commune with this sort of the totality of the experience of this planet. He is making up bullshit here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Understanding that they're
Yeah.
probably not going to know.
Yeah, the deliverance people like roll their well. No, Velius is good for it, right? Velius is like hell, yeah, I'm all about like he'll respect it, right? Again, he really does care about this shit,
Yeah.
right? But the other like the especially like, the handler, the actual capital H handler, like rolls his eyes, like ugh, right?
I actually just rolled an unmodified 17.
Oh yeah, so you bore like they don't want anything to do with this. Whatever, fuck off, right? Go do your dumb religious bullshit. But Velius unfortunately does tag around with you, but that's okay, right? He does because he's curious, right? You're going to keep making up bullshit, but that's fine because what happens is two like people just kind of wander up to the two deliverances, the capital H handler and the lowercase h handler, and start like talking to them about some problems that they've been having. And the capital H handler and the lowercase h handler start responding back to them. Meanwhile, a different person walks up to Velius, throws his arm around his shoulder, and like pulls him in. Velius is way taller than this guy, so he bends him over and like gives him a noogie and like speaks to him like very warmly, like my comrade, come with me for a moment. I need to show you something. My wife, she's expecting, and she wants, you need to touch her belly. And my firstborn, Velius, comrade, and Velius is so elated, right? Right? That this
That makes sense.
fellow wife guys bonding over their wives. Like Velius gushes about his wife, right? At this guy as he gets drawn away. His wife is expecting her second child too, right? And such a miracle. I will gladly touch your wife's stomach, all right? And comrade, and he gets pulled away. And now you are alone, but you're not alone. You are being watched, and the person watching you has shown that they are watching you, and they overtly enter the tea shop.
The Zen Master goes ahead and enters the tea shop, trying his best to not look like he's following someone or looking for anybody. Just casually entering. Does he, without having to put much effort into it, does he see this person?
It's going to take a bit of effort, but I'm just going to let you get away from this. Get away with it at this point. Like, it takes a bit of searching, but you're able to spot the person who signaled you. She, right, is she's how do I describe this? She's wearing like the usual like clothes of Dinhark. She's not in a deliverance outfit, right? But her hand is painted blue. And she's sitting in like a booth in the back of the tea shop, and she's waiting, and she's very calm, right?
Zen Master sides into the booth quietly and notices the hand and says, It occurs to me that had my hosts told me anything of substance, I might know what that means.
She smiles and she introduces herself to you. you've you've read the lore. She introduces herself to you as Jera.
I have read the lore, but this dude hasn't.
Yeah.
So he just thinks that's her name.
Yep. It's not what she's doing here. It's her name for sure.
He introduces himself.
Mm-hmm.
Mentions that he is from the planet Kyrie, and that is, and kind of like seems very out of his element. This is not the kind of shit he does.
Right. This person wearing blue paint on their left hand at least. It looks like it actually goes all the way up their arm, but like her arm, but it's hard to tell. Responds to like warmly, like she's heard a bit of Kyrie. She's heard a bit about what happened on Kyrie. Let's talk about what happened on Kyrie. She's gonna try and establish common context. Let's see if there's enough similarity to what happened on Kyrie to what happened here, so she can talk about what happened on Kyrie and tell him what happened on Dinhark. Can you do that? Right? Like he doesn't understand what she's saying. Right? But can he, can you do that? Can you, Alice, do that? Right? Can you accidentally do that as him?
I think I might be able to.
Yep.
He has the context of revolution and a planet-wide war that has a lot of atrocities involved.
Mm-hmm.
So he should be able to, so I should be able to.
Yep. So he, was there something close to what actually happened to the Ashai on Kyrie? Was there also, a genocide or something even close to that?
Yes. Actually, this is the thing that he knows the most. Because his monastery is built on where a previous one of a similar nature was built and was the site of a brutal massacre.
Mm-hmm.
Where they just sort of, rounded people up. Basically rounded the order that used to be there was rounded up and systematically killed,
oof, yep,
and recorded and killed. So he's able to communicate about that.
Yeah, the person calling themselves Jera smiles sadly at that, in a knowing way, right? As in a same hat kind of way. To this Zen guy, right? And yeah. she says something very similar happened here. In fact, she smiles like a strained smile. I would say, in that people survived yours. It is exactly the same.
There are always carriers of memory, or I should say there should always be.
Mm-hmm.
I had a feeling today that it was interesting how no one remembered.
Some people. And, she says it in a way capital P people. Hopefully he picks up on that. Have not forgotten. Some people cannot forget.
I would hope not. Some things should never be forgotten. He gets a little ominous.
Mm-hmm. She smiles at you, at this NPC. And she says, "This is all I can tell you about what truly happened here. I hope we meet," and she pronounces it incorrectly on purpose, "again." And she stands and walks as she announces that he is Agen, right? She declares him Agen.
Which he has no idea what it means, but assumes it's probably something okay.
Yeah, I'm sure it's an okay thing to be.
He will stay here a little while longer.
Yes, to not arise suspicions, right?
Yeah, and sort of just be. He'll even go through sort of the. He will actually go through a little bit of his kind of meditation routine while he's in the back of this place,
Mm-hmm.
so that he can say that he did so
Mm-hmm.
if someone asks him, and people actually saw him do it.
Yeah. When
And
when he does come back out, Velius and this other guy are showing each other like family like baby pictures, right? They're just mine's cuter, no mine's cuter, right? There's go like there's the dads are dadding, right? As he gets back out, but yeah. My wife's better. No, my wife's better. Just two wife guys. They can't who can't not stand.
he'll actually attempt to remark upon, like, like sort of very standard, like, man of the cloth, like, oh, it's wonderful seeing, new life come into the world kind of thing, and ask to see pictures.
Yeah,
And
you get to see the cute pictures of Susserar cubs. They're very cute.
but and he will, and from this point on, his mood will, his the way he carries himself will improve drastically. He
Mm-hmm.
seems like he's actually decided that he really likes this place and really likes his hosts.
His mood's about to change because now it's time for that last bit of the journey, right?
Oh yeah.
Onto the military base that Meliora constructed in the middle, like at the core of the Gentle Lands. So that mood shifts, like that narrative mood shift. Look at that mood shift. Just Jenner coming in here, slamming you with your hammer. You're not allowed to have fun. We're not having a nice time here. So they show you to the base, and it's just this base shouldn't be here. He can feel it. He's been declared Agen. He can feel the desecration of this land with this base here, right? He can feel it, right?
Yeah, like he just, I mean, the the man is a pacifist at the, like, all the time. He was already prepared not to like this. Now that he's met this person, it's just sort of like a vaguely sick feeling, and
Yeah.
probably looks like it.
It's not good, and Velius is like concerned for him because he, like, doesn't realize the secret communication that's going on. He like rubs his back. He starts calling him comrade, right, and like helps him out. Like, gets him through it, gives him some water. Yeah, show and like says you want to stop, but no. I mean, as Agen, you need to see the whole thing, right?
Yeah, the Zimmer should be kind of sympathetic because he's kind of read between the lines, and he doesn't think that this guy knows about this,
Yeah.
or that he's missing some clues here. So
Mhm.
he'll actually be really warm towards him, but like he will insist that no, it's just a little bit of a migraine. You brought me all the way here. I'm gonna see everything.
So he gives you the tour of the military base of all the soldiers. You greet some of the soldiers. The soldiers are just happy to talk to you. I mean, they're just stationed here. It's fine. It's a tourist town. Again, the military base is kind of part of the economy at this point. The tiny town that you met, it thrives off of like the soldiers' business, right? Very much like how Okinawa thrives off of the American military base there on Okinawa. Very similar, like, quote unquote thrives, right?
Ooh.
So yeah, and like that the soldiers are nice. They seem pleasant enough. Talk to you warmly. They show you around the barracks and stuff like that. They show you where they construct the ships. If you can see, a ship is actually getting made right now. It is an exact copy of the Shepherd's Crook.
Does the officer get the feeling that this is a reasonable amount of force for a base like this on a planet like this to have?
It's a little more than it really should be.
Yeah, I was getting that vibe.
It's almost like they're here just in case. Something that shouldn't be here because they don't like that. They would be if the thing that demon that was wiped out wasn't here. These number of people wouldn't be here. They are telling you they didn't wipe out those people too, right? They're acting like they didn't. The people who would want this place back aren't gone.
Yeah, the end result of here is that like the military guy is going to be brisk and businesslike, but he is now also unsettled. The only person who thinks that everything is mostly great so far is the clueless rogue trader.
Also, Velius. Velius thinks everything's great too.
He's great, yeah.
Once this is done, they ask, like, is there anything more you would like to see? Right? They take you out of the military base. Again, they're building a second Shepherd's Crook. Velius doesn't know what they're going to be naming the second Shepherd's Crook. Though we all know, actually, what it will probably be named, because we already know what the two emblems on the flag are. So where the first ship is the Shepherd's Crook, the second is Death's Scythe, right?
They are. They'll ask in the coming day or so, to be allowed, just because they're here already, to sort of be allowed to walk the city and just experience so like they can bring stories back. But the rogue trader talks for a while glowingly about how he's very happy to confirm what he already knew, that the deliverance has created order and a free society where once there was great strife and blah blah blah. The
Mm-hmm.
other two are really quiet,
Yep. Velius is like,
but they're not in charge.
Velius is humble, like, because he agrees, like, we are doing good here, but it's not perfect. He's genuinely remorseful. He's genuinely remorseful. He says, "I wish we had gotten here in time." His voice is torn. He really wanted to save those people. It's what we stand for. He's saying deliverance, but it's not what deliverance stands for. Not what, but it is what the Wooloo stand for. But unfortunately, this is communicating. Velius isn't a Wooloo, unfortunately, yet. Right?
I think before they pack in for the night, the Zen Master will
Well, call him Agen now. That's
tell
his name.
him.
He got a name.
Wait, what did we say? Oh, yeah, I guess we'll call him Agen. Our Agen, the Zen Master, will tell him, in response to this, like, we do what we can, and it is important that we continue to do what we can. Like, being really, really nice to this guy, because it has occurred to him at last that just because something very bad happened here and that like deliverance the government definitely knows, it has dawned on him that the people here do not necessarily know, and that's terrifying.
Yep. And good people, right? Actually, capital G, good people don't know.
Which implies a lot of things that he needs to get off this planet to talk about.
Yep. So you get your couple days, but again, you're under intense scrutiny the entire time. Unfortunately, you like the person who declared themselves Jera, that lady. She doesn't encounter you again. It's just too dangerous. And that graffiti gets power washed off of the building, right, while he's here. Is there more that you would like him to discover, or have we made our point?
I think we've made our point. Aside from what their report is going to be.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Velius, walks Agen back to his ship, and everybody else back to the ship. He gives you all handshakes. He's happy to have met you, and he's pleased. He says it's nice to interact with the common front in a more pleasant manner. Actually, could you do something for me? Could you apologize to Rhea for me? I wasn't in the best mindset. I have family. My wife is on the planet that the Shepherd's Crook was on its way to. And when it stalled out, it meant I might not have gotten to her in time. And that was on my mind. And I'm sorry that I was just to let her know. He's genuinely remorseful I'm sorry for my hostility.
The officer laughs and comments that Rhea hasn't been in a good mood since she was born, but that he'll like he knows her and he will pass on a message to her.
He nods and says, "Thank you so much. Sometimes we're not always at our best, but it's those of us who try to be that are good, and it's those of us who try not to be that are heading in the wrong direction."
Ooh.
But again, Velius doesn't realize he's communicating in a shy way here. So yeah, he bids you farewell, and he also like heads off. He's got places to go, people to see, things to do. He's got an assassination attempt. He's got to get busted by Vadim. So that's the end. You get back. So how does the Common Front get the truth to, I guess, Boundless and everybody else?
So the official report is glowing.
Mm-hmm.
Deliverance has brought, harmony and order to a place that did not have it before.
Mm-hmm.
All like they're just really, they've treated the people here well, like really, really glowing.
Mm-hmm.
The military guy notes that they are a bit overarmed, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything specific. The Zen guy notes that he is a bit worried that the core worlds of the front, which are a little more steeped in their various traditions, may have a hard time integrating with a society that doesn't really seem to respect those as much.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, it's really glowing. When they're done giving their official report to the Central Committee, the Zen Master and the officer meet with, all three of them meet with Father Corumdir and his inner circle, including Ray Tavros, in
Mm-hmm.
person,
Mm-hmm.
where a very different story is told. The Road Trader has nothing to add because he was kind of suckered in and deliberately kept himself away from things because he's the loud one they watch.
Mm-hmm.
The Zen Master reports that he's pretty sure that they're desecrating a holy site. He doesn't know that for sure, but he feels like it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's pretty sure that the genocided group here was not just, oh, they were too late. He does not have any solid proof, but someone from within Deliverance has implied to him that it was done either deliberately or that it was known about by Deliverance, and that if they didn't cause it, they definitely let it happen.
They definitely helped. Yeah, that's the best way she could communicate it, is Deliverance helped, wanted it to happen, helped it happen. Deliverance wasn't late on accident. Deliverance was late on purpose.
The military man kind of like doubles down on, okay, I said that they were a little well armed. There are way too many guns on this planet.
Yeah.
And they are building the vessel that they are currently building is big, and from what we understand of like their earlier flagship, what we have on it, this is going to be probably as good, and that is not great. And anything they tell you about their desires for peace and how they're gonna cool down on the military buildup is a fucking lie.
Yep.
But none of this is talked about outside of that room,
Mm-hmm.
which is probably the safest place in the Common Front space.
Okay.
Rhea Tavros knows and Corumdir knows, and that's about it.
Does Rhea receive Velius's apology from Agen?
She does.
Okay. I'm glad she takes it well. I hope.
She actually does, because you know what? Idiots don't necessarily get to choose who they're with.
Mm-hmm. Finally, do they get it? How do they? You'll have to work it out with Fefner, but like they do get it to Lionel because like Lionel said he wanted it too, right?
Yes.
Does Lionel get
Corumdir
the full?
will call it.
Does Lionel get the full story?
I think that Corumdir gives him everything, while stressing that he does not have hard data on some of this.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically gives him the exact story of everything that happened there as he's able to tell.
Okay, so you'll let
completely open.
Let Fefner know, but we'll also link her, this dialogue so she can hear it herself. But yeah, finally, how can they get it to Spava? How do they get it to Spava?
Rhea says that she knows some people who know some people who know some people.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as she leaves, she contacts one of the Crusader cliques that happens to be on the frontier,
Mm-hmm.
who are a bit shady but good-hearted, and they are the ones who are her actual connection to the Wooloos.
Mm-hmm.
They have not been forthcoming because communications are always being watched, but she prepares a brief message which basically says we got the message you wanted to tell us,
Uh,
and have them send that along and figure out how to encode that themselves.
the response you get back is, we actually need that information because we don't have it. We're sending somebody. Uh, how do you like? Oh God, what's something funny? Do you like bubble tea?
Rhea loves bubble tea.
So they basically say, "Hey, let's meet up and talk about like your context is let's meet up and talk about friendship. Let's be good comrades together, right? Let's talk about whatever, right?" So he introduce, like brings you out to a planet, but the planet he actually takes you to, the planet he invites you to, is Nim.
Okay.
So Rhea, shows up on Nim, and it's not Svava she can talk to because Svava can't come on Nim. Svava's exiled, right? Instead, she meets Freya, Svava's ex-wife, and Freya says she's not the person that that Rhea should be talking to, but she's the person that Rhea has to talk to in order to talk to the person Rhea should be talking to. And Freya sits Freya down, does give her a bubble tea, and says, "Tell me everything. I need to know." And it's like with such desperate urgency, right? And hey, Freya's still wearing her wedding ring. She put it back on. It was off in Isadora's vid call, but it's on. It's back on now.
Rhea will give her all the information she knows, which unfortunately is not as much as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
But will opine that she's pretty sure, from what they told her and from what she's heard, that if they didn't do it themselves, Deliverance almost definitely let the Ashai be wiped out. She doesn't. I don't think.
She doesn't know that she didn't get the name of the people, unfortunately.
Yeah,
right?
she doesn't know the name of
yeah.
them, but she's pretty sure that she has people working on if they can do any tracing to see if they know how it happened.
Yeah, if they can get the full details. With this, like, if secretively enough, with enough, investigation rolls and hide rolls, you can get the full story finally, right? The full story is what I wrote out, but I'll say it here. Deliverance sold weapons of like war crimes weapons, like disgusting gas, like that just murders people, to both all three factions, but mostly the first two, the two that survived, quote unquote, truly survived during this war, because the land that was most rich with Ebrium is this Gentle Lands, and they wanted that Ebrium. So they wanted the Ashai wiped out, and they helped those two factions get the stuff they needed to wipe the Ashai out. They sold them, gas. They sold them, weapons of mass. Like they got them, outfitted them with like the best mechs, everything they could. Like they did that lovely thing that the United States does when they want to get rid of people and take their land. It's awful. And that's the full story. You get like they let it happen. They encouraged it, and the people there, again, you still can't get their name. That's the most frustrating thing, right? The people that were there, the people who were quote unquote wiped out, fought back. They fought back in a guerrilla style, and they did it in a way where they tried their very, very best to avoid civilian casualties. And they decimated, they destroyed those two factions with guerrilla warfare. All that high-tech military whatever is nothing to a punji pit. Eat shit, right? You got a big mech. You got a big mech. You're in a hole now. Right? Oh, that's a nice Barbarossa you have. It's a shame. It would be a shame if it fell into a deep pool of water that I can't get out of. That because the water solidifies into something it can't get out of. It sucks to be you. It's like it crippled them, right? And it got to the point where the Shy started to turn the tide. They could have won the war. That's when Deliverance swept in. Suddenly, Deliverance was right on time to sweep in and take all the credit for liberating the planet and breaking up the fight that they started in the first place. The martyrs, they put martyrs on the planet to start those fights in the first place, right?
Because it all went according to plan.
Mm-hmm. And then you learn that basically every person, yes, there are people of that group that are still alive. Less than 100 of them are left. And all of them were basically press ganged, encouraged, to join Deliverance as soldiers. And they all work in Deliverance as soldiers. And hopefully Rhea can make the connection that legend that Deliverance embraced. They don't embrace the people, but they embrace the legend. That Kovanen that anybody can be is one of those people.
Ooh. God, I'm sorry, this is bleak.
Yeah. So that's the message that Deliverance is sending. A threat, right? If you are Kovanen, you can be one of us. That this is a thing that you should be, that you should want to be. That anyone can be that kind of Kovanen. And that'll be the end of this recording.
Da, da, da.